A brief summary, Neil Cross is a Managing Director and Innovation Officer of DBS Bank. He has previously been with MasterCard, Microsoft in various positions, and he consults the government. And over the weekend, he also has some hobby of running a hotel, which is helping save endangered Sumatran organ. Sorry. Really sorry.
Yeah, it's on. There we go. Good morning! Yeah, that's good enough. How do I follow such a great act like that? I suppose, firstly, I'll probably need a clicker, if possible, and some slides. So I'm Neil Cross. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at DBS Bank, and I'm sure you're wondering, why is a bank up here? It's probably not normal for a bank to talk at such a auspicious startup festival like this. It's because we're a very different bank, and we've got very different people inside our bank. And we've been on quite a journey in really trying to achieve the impossible. That is, how do you turn an ex-government-owned 22,000 staff bank based in Singapore and try and turn them into a startup company? And I know that sounds ridiculous, but we've been on this journey for a number of years now, and we have got a huge amount of success to date. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through how we've been using disruption to power a wave of innovation all across DBS, across Singapore, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, and China. I've been to India many times myself. I used to travel around India when I was younger on the trains. It certainly learnt me the meaning of the word patience. And I'm in India about 5 to 6 times a year. As mentioned, recently did win the world's most disruptive CIO, CTO, which is quite an honor and a recognition of the work that we've done at DBS. Thank you. And you know, there's lots of awards out there that people can win, and some people have said to me, "Oh, you know, I'm sure there's, you know, other awards you'd like to win," and I'm like, no, actually, because this award, Steve Wozniak and Sir Richard Branson decided that the work I do at DBS, getting the bank to operate more like a startup, at the same time running my own social enterprise to help save the orangutans in Sumatra, was worthy of being called world's best. At the same time, DBS has been changing rapidly, and a month ago, we won the world's best digital bank, which, powering that award, was what the work we did in India. We launched a mobile-only bank in India called Digibank, which I won't talk too much about. This isn't a DBS advert, by the way. I don't like to do adverts, but it is a great recognition of our work, and obviously our CEO, Piyush Gupta, it was probably one of the happiest days of his life, I would imagine. So, enough about the awards, but I only just won it, so I really had to talk about it. Disruptions happen in all industries. If you feel that the industry you're working in isn't going to be digitally disrupted, then think again. Even a few years ago, who would have thought that taxis would have been disrupted? Car manufacturing. You know, the world's biggest personal transport company owns no cars. We know this, Uber. The world's largest accommodation company owns no hotels, Airbnb. Maybe in the future, the world's biggest bank will have no money. And I'm not talking about some of the banks that failed. And so where is it coming from? It's coming from 2 different directions. On one side, I call them the 4B companies. They have billions of dollars, the brightest minds on the planet, the best brands, and 1 billion customers. And so these businesses are absolute experts in selling digitally. And as the finance industry moves from very much an analog product, from branches, from phone calls, from ATMs, as it moves into the world of digital, these 4B companies and others which are on their way are looking at how they can monetize finance. The worldwide financial services revenue is $5 trillion a year. $5 trillion. For $5 trillion, I could buy all those companies up there and probably the next 20. I could buy myself an Apple, could buy myself a Facebook, a Microsoft, Alibaba, Flipkart. I could buy all of them. And so as it moves to digital, it's ripe for disruption. At the same time, we've got really smart people like yourselves, the startups, moving into that industry. We call them fintech companies. And so they go after niches like payments. And what they do is they take out friction and cost. So they make things easier and cheaper. And they're doing this at scale. Last year, there was roughly 20 to 25 billion US dollars of venture capital went into fintech, which is nothing, considering the industry annual revenue is 5 trillion. This year, it's going to probably be about 35 billion. Actually, a lot of that being driven out of Asia. And so on one side, we have these huge tech and e-commerce companies. On the other side, we have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of fintech companies moving into a 5 trillion a year digital industry. That's what's driven us on this journey of becoming a disruptor. But when disruption happens, you have three choices. So one, you can sit there and do nothing, and you will get disrupted, like the bookshops, like the CD shops. Second, you can have a half-hearted go of releasing a digital product and think that's enough for you to survive. Or thirdly, like us, you can go, wait a minute, if things have been disrupted, we want to be a disruptor. We want to disrupt others. This is a new world. This is a new time. We can also be one of the top disruptors in finance. If you look at, this is probably very hard to read. This is an eye test. Basically what this says, this is a bank website. Every single thing a bank does, there is a fintech company doing it smarter and cheaper. Fintech started at a very low level of payments. The most famous fintech company in that space was PayPal, doing peer-to-peer. There was a lot of friction in paying people, so they took friction out and cost. Secondly, we started to move up into lending, peer-to-peer lending, and then into investment, robo-advisory, social trading, and now up into insurance and corporate banking. And so that wave of disruption coming very low, where there was most friction and cost, and they're just driving up through our industry. So as a company, how can you deal with disruption? You have three options in my mind. One is, looks like it's do nothing actually, but I think the text has disappeared. It's probably catching up. Anyway, thankfully I know my slides. So the first thing you can do is you can buy. You can go out and buy a startup, you can go out and do an M&A, you can go out and purchase a new tech platform and use that as your strategy. The second thing you can do, oh, there we go. Oh, is build. Right, we're getting there now. You can build a new digital bank. You can build a new offering to service your customers. And the third thing you can do, which is where we focused, is we want to completely reinvent the culture of the organization. Thank you. And when you create a culture of innovation, it's incredibly hard. As an innovation leader, I started with 3 people. Now I've got 30. And I took the decision, actually, I don't think innovation people should do innovation. I think that's a stupid idea. I think innovation people should get non-innovation people to do innovation. And so no one in my innovation group ever invents anything. Okay? Innovation is not spelled APP. It's nothing to do with technology. It's nothing to do with apps. Innovation is about solving problems in an elegant manner that has an outcome. Okay? So I don't hire technologists. So if you're a techie, please don't ask me for a job. There are other jobs in the bank. And I don't hire bankers or any kind of experts, payment experts or foreign exchange experts. I just hire people who can solve problems. Everything we do in the innovation group is in partnerships. We never invent anything, and we never sit there and go, oh, I want to invent this really cool thing on blockchain and take it to the business. No. The way we operate, an executive has a problem, we work with their staff, we coach them, we mentor them, we introduce them to startups or students or customers, and we guide them through a process to deliver world-class products. What we also do is utilize partnerships and ecosystems. I am a massive fan of ecosystems. I spent many, many years at Microsoft. Do you know you can't buy a product off Microsoft? You think you've bought a product at Microsoft, but you never have. They sell through partners. Every time Microsoft makes $1, the ecosystem makes 8. So every year there's about $1 trillion of economic value being generated by Microsoft. And it works like this. If I buy a Microsoft database, I buy it from a vendor, a partner. I need to pull it on a piece of tin, so I buy something from Dell or HP. Intel gets a cut because they've got the chipset. I need to hire someone to operate it. They need to be Microsoft certified, so the training partner gets revenue. And so you see, the way they operate is partner-led. And so if you're a startup, my guidance to you is just go straight through partnerships. I saw a great story about Albert Einstein. This is a great example. Just before his book launch, he got interviewed by a British reporter. And a British reporter said to him, so Albert, theory of relativity, how many copies do you need it to sell to be successful? He said 1. And the British reporter said, wait a minute, sorry, it must be your German accent. But let me repeat. How many copies of your book do you need to sell to be successful? He goes, 1. I need to sell it to Max Planck. He will tell everyone how great it is. And so his cost of sales was very low. But it's a great philosophy we follow at the bank as well. How do we get scale through partnerships? Everything we do is around programs. When you've got to touch 22,000 staff, it's got to be a program-driven innovation strategy. Last year, we put around 2,000 people through innovation programs at the bank. This year, we're going to put 5,000. I need to hire someone to operate it. They need to be Microsoft certified, so the training partner gets revenue. And so you see, the way they operate is partner-led. And so if you're a startup, my guidance to you is just go straight through partnerships. I saw a great story about Albert Einstein. This is a great example. Just before his book launch, he got interviewed by a British reporter. And a British reporter said to him, so Albert, theory of relativity, how many copies do you need it to sell to be successful? He said 1. And the British reporter said, wait a minute, sorry, it must be your German accent. But let me repeat. How many copies of your book do you need to sell to be successful? He goes, 1. I need to sell it to Max Planck. He will tell everyone how great it is. And so his cost of sales was very low. But it's a great philosophy we follow at the bank as well. How do we get scale through partnerships? Everything we do is around programs. When you've got to touch 22,000 staff, it's got to be a program-driven innovation strategy. Last year, we put around 2,000 people through innovation programs at the bank. This year, we're going to put 5,000. That's about a quarter of our entire staff base will go through some kind of either design thinking, innovation, or lean startup experimentation session. In fairness, I don't know any company in the world that does this at the scale that we do it to. Some of the programs we've got, one of the first ones I came up with, I was having a conversation with our head of learning and development, Lawrence. And Lawrence said, hey, Neil, we need to teach our executives digital mindset. Have you got any ideas? Have you got any PowerPoint? And I said, well, I don't think we should use PowerPoint. I think we should get them to run their own startup. And he said, well, Neil, have you been drinking at lunchtime again? And I said, well, actually, I have. But my point is, let's get them to do a startup. We can do it in 3 days. And so what we did, we took the top 250 execs at the bank. We split them into teams of 3 over a course of about 15 events in the end. We paired them with a startup. So it's about a team of about 6 people, half bank, half startup. We took the biggest problems from the bank, and we took them through a process where they were going to invent a fintech company. Day 1, we got them to do rapid prototyping on paper. They drew out their prototypes, and we had a map of Singapore where they could find the people who would be their potential purchasers of the product. And so they were all excited about how great their ideas were and how customers were going to love them. I was just smiling because I knew they were in for a shock. So these execs were running around shopping centres, train stations, stopping people on the street, getting feedback on their potential product, come back into the bank quite sad. So I said, what happened? They said, oh, the customers didn't like it. And I said, well, that's because you've only just come up with it. You never even spoke to them before you designed it. And so over the course of 3 days, they pivoted or persevered, eventually codifying a working prototype they had to pitch to the CEO. Off the back of this, we got about 84 new potential products for the bank. Of course, not all of those have gone in production, but a lot of the features from those have. But let me show you a video on how this operated.
I want our people to wake up to the new way that mankind lives, to what digital means. And you can't do that in classrooms. You can't put people in front of a blackboard and teach them what digital is all about. The only way you can do it is through experiential learning. Now this Megathon Hackathon is so exciting because it allows us to check many things in one go. It's a tremendous opportunity for us to get our best and brightest and give them a tremendously different exposure to the new digital world that is on us, which allows you to get startups, people who think differently, mix and match them with our people and give them an opportunity to think in a different frame is just fantastic.
They were created to give people a sense of what it was like to work in an intense, rapid innovation environment, to come up with solutions in a very short period of time that would spark inspiration within the business to do something around those solutions.
We have 85 of our most senior people from all over the world involved in this and 20 startup teams. So it's about 150 people involved in this production, this event that's going on.
They're trying to do immersion into some customers' problems, build something and act and get something delivered within these 3 days. This is giving them a microcosm of the way they should be operating.
Because through the experiments that we run, there is no way they don't fail. They have to fail in order to succeed. So I think people are now less afraid of failure.
I would say the biggest thing is creative thinking and trying to incorporate elements of human-centered design. I think it's one thing to just kind of talk about it, but really kind of bringing in those principles and saying this is how you apply them to solve a problem. And I think it's stuff that they can take back and say, okay, we're not just going to solve it in a traditional corporate sense. Let's really understand who is the end user of this product or solution and how do we serve their need.
Critical point that I learned is to be thinking out of the box. Don't think about the boundaries first. There are a lot of possibilities. This will help me do my job better. It's going to change my work style, to change my attitude to my customers.
And that actually the tools are actually quite simple and straightforward for them to be able to use and take back to the workplace. So the hackathon has many different outputs. Clearly the idea is something that's of real value, but really the culture change is what's most important.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
So by the end of today, we'll have done 50 teams, 50 solutions, built 50 apps across the 4 different hackathons.
That's why we're running the hackathons. That's why we're having our mission of create joyful banking. It's to create the leadership environment where the whole organization is filled with leaders who have a common vision and purpose.
The winning team is Monopoly!
But perhaps in some ways the most important, to me, this notion of trying to change the culture of the company of trying to create the confidence in ourselves to take some risks, to experiment a bit, to try a few things which are different, to have fun while you're doing it. That's the kind of company we're trying to build. And the Megathon is a fantastic tool to be able to bring that culture to life.
There we go. And so we lit a fire in the bank. There was a fire now. People were saying, we can build stuff in 3 days. We can be a fintech company. And I again just smiled. There's a long way to go. So we started to build a startup ecosystem. We've run 7 accelerators in 2 years in Hong Kong and Singapore. We actually ended up building our own. My team run their own called Hotspot, which we're bringing to Hyderabad next year. A few of the things that make it unique. One is we're not there to make money yet. We did 11 billion in turnover last year and 4.5 billion in profit. And so we pay you to join. We don't take equity. We just coach and mentor you. And hopefully we can utilize you at the bank. But if not, we hope we've helped. That's our philosophy. Thank you. And so look out for DBS Hotspot coming to Hyderabad next year. Secondly, I'm going to have to do some reinvention around clickers, I think, for my next project. Unicorn. We reinvented our internships programs. So rather than join the bank as an intern and do PowerPoint, or Excel for 2 months, we take them, we put them in our accelerator, we guide them, we turn them into entrepreneurs, and we get them to solve the bank's biggest problems. We're turning wholesale interns into entrepreneurs. They have 2 paths then. They can join the bank as a disruptor, or we support them in setting up their own startup. Again, this is coming to Hyderabad next year, so look out for this if you've got friends who are students currently. So what have we done in India? We've been in India actually a long time. We launched one of the world's first mobile-only banks. It's not mobile first, it's mobile only, called Digibank. What we did with that, we were the first bank in India that you could open a bank account by using a thumbprint in a coffee shop. You never go to a bank, you never talk to a bank, you never send us documents, you download the app, you go to a coffee day coffee shop, you thumbprint, you've got a full service bank account. We also have good rates, 7%, but we have an artificial intelligence chat agent in there. So you chat to an AI to get customer service. Again, one of the first banks in the world to do that. We're also investing heavily in Hyderabad. We're hiring 1,500 technology people. This will be our biggest tech center outside of Singapore. Thank you. So we've still got a lot to hire. So we love failed entrepreneurs or people who want to join us. Just let us know. You can find the jobs on Google. And so in the interest of time, it's my final slide, so don't panic there. Here's some of the things I learned. Build a great and diverse team. Don't have a startup full of engineers. You'll only get one thought train. As a leader, I only do 4 things. I give protection, I give inspiration, I give education, and I give freedom. And this has worked incredibly well for the bank. Secondly, customer always knows best. Yeah? Lose your ego. You may think you've got the world's greatest idea, but the customer is the only person who truly knows. Be prepared to even throw that idea away and start again. Partner. Get to scale quickly through smart partnerships. You may end up with a little less money initially because you have to rev share, but you will end up with a much bigger and sustainable business. Find a niche. What's that place where there's friction, it's painful to use, and there's cost? They're always great hunting grounds for innovation. And finally, don't underestimate sales. I think we heard this before, but if you're doing B2B software, hire a professional salesperson. There's great people in the world of tech company who can go and talk to executives like me and actually get me to buy something. 90% of startups who talk to me fail within 5 minutes. They don't know how to talk to an executive. This is really important. So that's me. Have a great couple of days. I'll be around. Please come chat to me, and happy to explore further. Thank you.